Okay, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for participating in today's monthly PRLU provider call. I have 10 a.m. and I will try not to hold you all very long today. Um, Today will be a day of topics that we will be discussing. Again, we won't be very long. We just want to bring it to your attention, some things that we have noticed here on our end. Um, but first, let me acknowledge my staff. I wanted to thank my staff, the licensing specialists, for participating. We do have a few available. Some are traveling and some may be by phone. So thank you so much. And please be careful out there. We do have members from the regulatory check unit here with us. I see Brenda Burr, um, Kayla Bodi, she's our program manager. Brenda is the coordinator. Um, don't see Cindy, but that's okay. So we will be talking a little bit about regulatory checks because I believe there may be a few questions from some of you all concerning those regulatory checks. So we'll give you an opportunity to ask questions about those as well. And please remember, if we can't give you an answer to your question today, we will make note of it and try to get back with you all as soon as we can. So first, I wanted to just check in and see how everybody is doing. We have many agencies or providers here on the call, and just wanted to check in with you all to see how things were going so far. Is everything all good, or are you like, oh my goodness, this has been a really weird time for us at this time? So if anybody would like to share, I really would appreciate it. Okay, so I can take silence as everything is going okay at your agency, and that is something that we like to hear. Um, I did want to talk a little bit about mental health for your staff and also your youth at your agencies. And I'm going to allow one of our program coordinators, Austin Clowers, to talk a little bit about some information that he has concerning mental health. Go ahead,
Thank you,
Austin.
Ebony. I appreciate it. So, mental health is really important right now. I mean, with everything that's going on in the world, with wars and COVID and, ICE and everybody having to be stuck in the office for long periods of time, mental health is very important. And it's very important in our life, just every day with our everyday stresses. So, we have a resource that has been given to us, and I like to provide that to providers when they ask about it, and now just provide this in general. But the UAMS mindfulness department, they are a part of UAMS in general, and they have a regular Zoom meeting on the first Thursdays of the month. That is a community group. It's at 5:30 p.m. and they provide mindfulness sessions. They do talk about different topics that you can talk about with your staff, or even have your staff join, and be involved in, as well as every day at noon, they do a mindfulness 20-minute session where they just walk you through, decompressing and relaxation techniques. And, I participate that we have a one that's specifically for DHS on Mondays, and I participate in that. And it has been very helpful when, you're already stressed out at work and you see events that are going on currently, to just, take your mind off of that and, decompress. So I'm going to share this in the chat, but they also offer 4-week mindfulness trainings. They have an 8-week mindfulness-based stress reduction course that they offer, and it's all free to the public. So it's a good resource, and I just recommend, during these times, to take a moment to breathe and to relax. So just keep in mind that, what you see on the outside from someone maybe is not what's going on the inside. So it might just be that buildup that's building up until, finally the one little thing that someone says or that a client says or something like that, and then it leads to something bad. So just keep in mind that stress is not always visible. So I'm going to put that in the chat, but I'm going to turn it back over to Ebony. If you have any questions about the mindfulness, feel free to reach out to me. I'll put my email as well.
Okay, thank you so much, Austin. I really do appreciate that information. I feel that it is important to just like check on your staff. Um, Also check on yourself, do some self-care, but really check on your staff. We are seeing incidents where we have reactions, and we want to stay away from those reactions, and we want adults to use their de-escalation methods. So keep that in mind. Always be checking on your staff. Just in general, we know that gas is raised, getting really high. You may have staff traveling in from very far, so that's an issue. The price of food is really high. If you can find the type of food that you want in the store, so there's supply issues, and that could be nerve wracking. And then we have issues with the mask or no mask. So there's a lot going on that adults may not be really used to. So try to figure out ways that you can try to just show some type of compassion. And just check on your staff just to make sure that they're okay, because when adults are okay, we know that they will be okay taking care of your youth. Okay. So I did want to talk about some things that we're seeing an increase of, or a trend lately. And those things are elopements. So we are seeing a lot of elopements at agencies. And just to talk with you all about it, do you know like what's been triggering those elopements with those youth? Is it something that's occurring at the agency, or does it start at the school, or can anybody kind of talk through any of that, maybe give us some insight on what's going on with the increase of elopements or runaways?
I can speak a little bit from perimeter Forest City. We did had two elopements, but due to the ice storm, we got hit really, really, really hard here in Forest City. And due to that, our entire fire system was in malfunction, and we did not have locks on our doors. So what we had to do was kind of have the staff kind of talk them through this process. Hey, we need to make sure we are in front of doors. We had 60 plus youth in the building. We had teenage boys in the building. So two of our elopements literally happened because, staff are trying to, process with another, resident, and this kid flies through the door, and now all the doors are unlocked, and, people are chasing them. So it was a great pursuit, which unfortunately we weren't able to get those residents before they eloped off the property, but also we were able to, get a temporary resolve to our problem because we were in the midst of switching fire systems. So that was pretty much the reason why we had those AWOLs. Prior to, we hadn't had any over at Forest City in a while, which we are, super excited about, because I know that was something we struggled with really, really bad in the fourth quarter of 2021. But like I said, this quarter we haven't had nearly as much as we had. So that was the only reason that we actually had to, which I was very a little sad about. But it is what it is, and we got the problem resolved, and we don't expect to have any AWOLs or elopements moving forward.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Hope. And I will let you know that it's not just perimeter. So it's happening more across the state with many of our agencies. And so that kind of makes me think like, okay, what's going on with these kids? Like, is it? Was it due to the ice storm? Was it cabin fever, or is the agency providing any activities, when it's during non-school hours? Like, are they just idle and they're thinking of things to do? Or is it something that's triggering them from school, or are they trying to get to a relative or a boyfriend? Anything could be happening. So just kind of keep those things in mind, just as you are checking on your staff. make sure that you continue to check on those youth, especially those teens. The weather is changing now, it's getting warmer. They may feel like they're missing out on everything in the world, and you know, things may happen. So my advice would be to for you guys to look into getting more things, more ideas of getting those youth involved. And does anybody have any suggestions for that, ensuring that the youth are involved?
I was just thinking of the conscious discipline things where maybe they could think of something that would relate to how they were acting and give them some kind of duty or something that would go along with that, you know.
Ebony, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Hi, this is Renessa from Piney Ridge. We, especially with the leadership of Cole and Justin, do a ton of different groups with the residents, whether it's art projects, whether for upper levels, it's going to basketball games, it's having movie nights, it's having some kids are going bowling. So we're looking at, with the numbers going down with COVID, and hopefully it continues to go that way, of really engaging the residents. I will say that even with the greatest programming in place, sometimes when a resident has a will, they figure out a way. But I know that we're really focused. And when we had the ice storm, a lot of us were here and working the floor and did all kinds of different things with them. So I think not only was that good for the residents, but it was good for the staff, that they continue to see leadership working with them, right beside them.
Thank you, Renessa. That's some great information, and I appreciate you sharing that information from Piney Ridge Treatment Center. Does anybody else have any suggestions for maybe what could, what's been working at your facility as far as like the youth and keeping them busy? Or does anyone know any measures that you all have taken or can take to prevent the elopements from happening? Or what has been working well for you all?
This is Libby from Washington Children, Youth and Family Services. And we have a shorter term emergency shelter and then a longer term QRTP program out here. And really with the emergency shelter, we haven't had a lot of elopements, but then with the young men who stay here for at least 6 months, sometimes up to 2 years, we started to see more elopements, which I think was like a compounding situation. The majority of their activities in the community were with community mentors. And so when COVID happened, those community mentors stopped doing outings. And then the places that they went to weren't open in the first place. And we had okay weather, so we were just increasing outside activities. But then when it became winter, we didn't have the outside activities. And so we certainly saw an increase when we were dependent upon trying to come up with inside activities for young men who really are around the same people the majority of their day, because a lot of them do also receive educational services in-house. And so we've been trying to find, we do get them outside, of course, as much as we can, but finding activities that they can do when you're kind of limited on the people who provide them and it's still feeling new and exciting and engaging has been a challenge. So we're also open to, if any of y'all have websites or resources that you use in that situation.
Thank you for the information, Livy. And if any of you all have any information on additional websites that works well for your agency and your team, please just put it in the chat box and we'll get that information sent out as well. So it's okay to share. Okay, but in the meantime, just some things that I have been noticing in the news lately that I thought was important just to speak with you all about is bullying. So bullying is occurring. So, and we know that we don't know everything that's going on when your youth are away from those homes, those facilities. They're at school. Um, they've already been through some type of traumatic event. And then now they're going to school, and potentially there could be some issues with being bullied. Do you all find that when your youth who are attending school away from your facilities, are they coming back, and do you feel that they're comfortable with talking to you all about things that may be occurring at school, or are they just really shut down? Or are you guys even checking to see how school is going? Can anybody kind of discuss any of that information? Please keep that in mind. So we do know that bullying is occurring at schools. And if you see a change in behaviors from when your youth returns to the facility, I mean, as a parent, I'm always asking, and I probably get on their nerves, like, what happened at school today? What you eat for lunch? Did you make a new friend? And it may give them some sense of comfort or some, feeling of, well, they really do care about, me and how my day went. And I appreciate that at least someone is looking out for me. So just please keep that in mind. And then also we're seeing the concerns with suicide. And I don't know if you all pay attention to the news and the media, but over the past 2 or 3 months, there had been some like really high profile suicides that have been occurring. And they were really, they were younger adults. And so that made me think like, okay, we're not away from the issues with COVID and depression and anything else that could be happening. So please keep that in mind when it's concerning suicide. Try to research things to any triggers. Am I missing anything? I would say do some research on that information concerning suicide prevention, because you are dealing with youth who have been through some type of traumatic event. And I would say for girls and boys, just all teenagers. So just please keep that in mind. Does anybody have any questions so far? Okay, so what I'll do now is
Go ahead, Reba. Hello, this is Reba Dye from CYS, and I'm the admissions and treatment director for the boys and girls. And what I've noticed lately with a lot of our admissions is, and we're very tight with the school. The principals know us, the assistant principals, and if there's any issues, they really try hard to work with our youth, but at the same time, they do call us. But a lot of our youth, because they have been abused, they're now absorbing that, well, how I was treated, now I'm reacting to other people. And so a lot of our youth not only need anger management skills, but self-esteem skills, because we're having issues here with the youth not knowing how to respond to just another teenager who's a smart aleck that's not even bullying them at all. We have some youth that, hey, somebody said something to me, I didn't like it, so I beat them up. And so we're having issues with our children getting suspended for several days. And we do talk with them. We talk with them about especially anger management, realizing that another person, when they say that, a lot of times it's just teenagers being smart alecky back to one another. They're not planning on hurting you. You've got to learn to see the difference between somebody who's really going to assault me or hit me versus just another kid who has a problem and they're just running their mouth, and how do I let that go and not feel like I have to defend myself by getting in a fight. So we're working on a lot of those issues here at the facility.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, and I was going to speak a little bit at Perimeter of Forest City. We do have a program advocate who's also our program director, and we get tons of grievances. And at all residential facilities, you read those grievances, and so and so looked at me, so and so is bullying me. And one thing that we pride ourselves on is no matter how small that some people may think a grievance is, we're going to acknowledge it. We may pull the kid, hey, can you tell me a little bit more about bullying, and they love to see that. They love being able to come to the admin building, and we acknowledge that they are going through something on those units, or they're being bullied by a group of people, and we are able to catch it quickly, instead of they had this grievance, they've already told us what's going on, but we didn't acknowledge it. But one of the things we're being intentional about is making sure we acknowledge when our residents are writing grievances, and it may be a problem, or hey, let me look at an hour camera footage on that hall and see what's going on. And to my surprise, hey, it does look like some bullying is going on. So we take it very, very serious when it comes to our residents writing grievances, and acknowledging them, letting the kid know that we acknowledge it, and then also doing something about it. So I just wanted to talk about that. I know we don't send our residents out for school, but they spend a lot of time in a facility around kids that come in with different types of behaviors and things that they may find is not okay in the facility. So being able to advocate for themselves, and in turn us advocating for them as well.
Thank you, Ms. Pisana and Ms. Reba. So very good information, and thank you for sharing. So yeah, it's the coping skills. So I feel like the youth nowadays, they lack a lot of coping skills, and they react so fast, and that's strange to me. But hey, there are things that I need to learn as well. So some things that we have been talking about on our end, the licensing end, is just to try to figure out how can we be more of a resource to you all. And so one of our program managers, her name is Onika Luster. She is, and I can't get all of the details correct about it, but the idea was brought up of starting maybe a book drive for the youth, just to see, get a feel of, are the kids reading it at the homes and at the residential facilities? Is there something that they're lacking? What do you all think about potentially having, somewhat our team or our end trying to figure out a way to, create a book drive so that we can get some books out to your youth, and just could you do a survey and let us know what types of books your youth may be interested in? Are they anime, or are they more of Harry Potter? I don't know. I don't know what's out. I don't know what they like. But just keep that in mind. It's just something that we're trying to think about to see how can we be more of an assistance to you all and for those youth. So I really think it's a good idea, but just kind of whenever you get a chance, send me an email and give me some feedback, or you can share now and ask any questions about potentially, us helping you all with receiving books to your facilities.
I think this is Charlotte, CEO of Perimeter Forest City. I think that's a good idea. What our education director has just started this last month was each child that is discharged, we send them home with a backpack with at least 10 reading books in it. So I think that's an excellent idea, and that would help us tremendously with getting books to get them back out to them when they leave.
Okay, good deal. So if anyone is interested, if you could just survey your youth and say, hey, what type of literature would you be interested in, and maybe we can kind of work on some things on our end to see if we can get any donations for you all. So, all righty. So now I did want to give you all an opportunity to talk to the regulatory check unit. I'm not sure if you all had some questions about background checks, any issues that you all may be having, any questions that you may be stuck on. We do have that team available to answer any of your questions.
Hi, I do have something I want to bring up. My name is Haden Shepherd. I'm with Ozark Guidance Arista Health. I'm not sure if this is the right time for this, but one of the things that we are running into with our TFC homes is, as with everybody who's working in the helping profession, we're having a very hard time with hiring. And so it feels like it's really limiting our ability to open TFC homes. Specifically looking at our the therapist requirements. And I don't necessarily have a solution or anything like that. I guess I just kind of wanted to get the conversation going of it's hard to see that we have a potential home that could be open, but because we don't have a therapist for it, it's upsetting to see.
Are you running into any issues with background checks for the therapist, or?
Well, that's a piece. Well, not necessarily the background checks. A lot of it is just like, all the requirements and stuff like that that the therapist would have to go kind of go through. From the agency perspective, I'd like us to be a little bit agile of what therapists could see a TFC kid. But there's, of course, costs and all of that kind of stuff that go into that. And so it wouldn't make sense for the whole agency to do background checks on every therapist. And so I don't know, I just kind of want to get the conversation going of how can we work together to kind of put our heads together and find out what we can and cannot do.
Would anybody like to offer any feedback or ask any additional questions?
Hayden, this is Kelly from Youth Home in Little Rock. I will tell you that we've had a heck of a time recruiting therapists too. And I'll tell you, we've talked to a lot of people, we've talked to a lot of forums. And what we're hearing is that nobody wants to do anything other than private practice, because if they come work in residential, they have to do umpteen gazillion paperwork things. And in private practice, there is really very little to none of that. And so they don't want to put in the hours and the time. And I know there's really not much we can do about that, but we just hired a therapist. I need one more. I've got one leaving in a couple of months and we have no ideas. We've talked to all of the social work and LAC programs around. They say they're graduating people, but a lot of the people are telling them that they're either not going to work, or they're not going to work in their field, or they're going into private practice with somebody because they don't want to do all the forms and paperwork. So that's not helpful, but just so that you know you're not in that boat all by yourself.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yes, we're in good company.
And so, Kelly, when you say all the forms and paperwork, are you referring to like background checks, or what would that be?
No, just to be, as you guys know, in a residential program or professional foster care program, there are so many incident reports and documentation requirements, and this form within this many hours, and so many mandatory sessions a week, to try to get our team love the time with the kids. They love that, but it's all the paperwork to document that. And that's just, you don't have all of that in your own private practice. So.
Okay, yeah, I understand it. And I've heard some of that before. So, hey, we understand it, but we're wishing you all the best of luck to, obtain some really great therapists, because I think that many of the youth may be lacking. And so it's kind of hard when you can find some good help when you need it. So I'm wishing you all luck on that. Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions for the regulatory check team, or is anybody stuck on anything with background checks?
Hey, Ebony, this is Carla in Forest City. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
One of the issues that we ran into with the background process, I did talk with Miss Brenda, so she was very helpful. Thank you, Miss Brenda. With our DHS office here in Forest City, when we sent over our staff to do backgrounds, they have a very small window. And on the online, when we go in to schedule, it's not, those times are not blocked off. So we were told that we could send them only, we could send only 5 a day. The hours will have to be from 9 to 11:30, and then from 2:30 to 3:30. So it's a very small window. And I am going to reach back out to Brenda today to get that name, because we've had some staff that were turned around. And so that kind of creates, it delays the process, and especially when we're trying to get staff in. So that was one of the biggest issues that we ran into here in Forest City. So I will reach back out to Ms. Brenda today, but I did want to share that because that was an issue. And to have just 5 a day without, those windows blocked, it just seems as if we're unorganized when we're sending them out. And so we schedule those fingerprints around those times that's available.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Carla. And Brenda, if you need me to assist you with anything, I don't mind helping you out with if I need to reach out to someone, but thank you for that information.
You're welcome.
We appreciate, Ms. Carla, I appreciate you reaching out and letting us know about those types of things. If you experience that when you were sending staff to go get fingerprinted, please let us know. We immediately notified our IT administrator who works with the director of county operations. So they've already been notified about that, and we're going to get a plan in place so that you're not having those restrictions. And if there is a situation where maybe they don't have a staff member that day, or the schedule doesn't line up, that it'll be blocked off on that scheduler. So just let Brenda know that information that you guys had already talked about, and we will make sure to update them. And that goes for any providers. If you have any of those experiences when they're getting fingerprinted, please let us know, and we will make sure and look into it for you.
Thank you.
Paging.
Sorry, he is really talking. Are there any other questions for the regulatory check unit? Okay, well, I'll try to wrap things up, and I'll check with my team. Ms. Shea, do you have anything that you'd like to address with our providers today?
No, I do not.
Okay, Mr. Austin Clowers, anything else from you?
Nothing further at this time. Thank you.
Okay, and we do have Becky Mitchell. She's one of our helps here. She's another program manager. Is there anything you'd like to address, Becky?
I don't have anything to address, but I just want to say keep on being awesome for all the kids out there in Arkansas. Thank you for all you guys do.
Thank you. And I'll kind of piggyback on that. So we know that you guys are at times in like a really stressful situation when you're working. Just remember to check on yourself, self-care, check on your staff, and then always try to follow up with your youth. If there's anything that we can assist you with, just send us an email, and I'll try to get a response for you as soon as I can. So with that being said, would you guys please have a wonderful day, and then just send me an email if you need anything. Thank you.
Thank you.